So I would say key challenges are fewfold. It's depending on the maturity of the organization, depending on what data quality you have available that you can act on. If you don't have that, you need to build that, you need to get cleaner data. But also the culture in the organization, whether you're thinking about CX as one function, which I think is the wrong way to do, or whether you're building it as something comprehensive where digital is sitting inside, where all the delivery methodology is coming actually out of that, and which would bring you then actually to designing around the needs of the customer. We are investing heavily in AI, obviously. We're heavily investing in our brand. We're heavily investing in data science and analytics because these are the constituents of a proper program that you're building around your CX. And I think if they are not aligned, then it's not going to go anywhere. So I think we're doing a very good job in Australia, and we're trying also in some of our countries here in Asia to deploy similar structures. And so far the journey has been quite rewarding. Well, for starters, we bought a few years back an AI company. So basically we got all that internalized. And we've looked at our database, and we've looked at all the data that's sitting with about 8 million customers in Australia. And of course what we have also in the region. And it's very interesting what you can extract out of that and what you can build in terms of segmentation and moving away from the old ways of segmentations towards more attitudinal and behavioral segmentation rather than the standard model of segmentation. What we found with that is actually that we can address much more specifically to the needs of certain customer segments. And this is where AI comes in, of course, very handily. If you can also move a step further in that journey and look at the communications so that you're tailoring communications and tailoring the brand experience actually to those segments, then I think you're on the right track. Well, I would say we're in for very, very exciting times because part of our group's activity has been really to trailblaze in certain areas in terms of marketing, in terms of branding, which is a little bit neglected in our industry in general. So I think we've made good headway in that regard. In Asia, there are different maturity levels in the countries, but we're working very successfully in India with the State Bank of India. We have very good partnerships in Malaysia, so where we are going through the motions, of course, to get the buy-in of the local organizations and then actually build something that creates that extra value. Well, I would say it has to be front and center, because if you're saying, as we say, we're trying to make your world a better place, and if you're looking at that you want to be customer-led and data-driven, you have to build your whole organization around that customer experience. It's not a luxury to disregard that and relegate it to a function. It should be front and center. We're looking at, as I said, we make your world a safer place is our mantra. And if you're looking at that, what are the elements that we need to be looking at? So we're looking at mobility, we're looking at home, and we're looking at the work context. And we're looking at what we can do actually for the customer to make him feel safe and build that resilience into the society and the community in general. And I think if that is not design thinking, then I wouldn't have the answer to that. So we're trying to really look at what value can we build into the community so that when disaster strikes or when individual calamities arise, how do you respond to that? How can you be covered? How can you feel safe? Yeah. And I think that's at the core of it when you're talking about design thinking. How do you bring a service out? How do you bring a product out that takes that into account and builds it around it, the whole organization? We have, on our shared value side, we have massive amounts of activities that we're doing to build more resilient communities. And where we see ourselves is really to start that conversation and make sure that the communities are taking it to the next step, where we become a little bit of a moderator, but where we become also part of that community. And it would go into too much detail if I went into this, but we have Good Hoods, for example, is one of our campaigns and one of our shared value activities that we're doing, where we're going really into the communities and trying to foster this relationship between the community and what might happen and how they respond to that, and us as a carrier that's supporting them.